Hey Wildcats, I'm Mrs. Reynoso. I'm one of the counselors here at West Ranch, and I'm here to talk to you about financial aid. And so it's important as you start to apply to colleges is to start thinking about how you're going to pay for it. So the financial aid process is important for all of us to take into consideration. Even if you think you don't need financial aid, you want to make sure you take a listen to this presentation. So our friends over at College of the Canyons put together this amazing PowerPoint for us and shared it with us, so that we could help alleviate any concerns you have about the financial aid process. So for this workshop, we're going to talk about the financial aid equation. So in other words, how your eligibility is determined. We're going to talk about types of financial aid, what can be awarded, and how to apply. So that is how to complete the FAFSA, the CSS profile, as well as the California Dream application. All right. So who's eligible for financial aid? All students are eligible to apply for assistance. It is not based on income alone. U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen enrolled in an eligible program, making satisfactory academic progress, and heck, just getting a high school diploma. So you're all right there on track and eligible to apply for financial aid. Because the reality is, take a deep breath because it's true, the price tag for college is high. And it's something you want to take into consideration. And so if you see down at the bottom of your screen that phrase in yellow, cost of attendance, that's the reality of college. So when we're talking about how much it costs to go, it's beyond just the tuition, that first bullet point. It's going to include tuition and fees. It's going to include books and supplies, food, housing, transportation, as well as personal expenses. So that overall price tag can get pretty lofty. And so it's important that we take all of that into consideration when we're thinking, how are we going to pay for college? Okay, so those are all things that we're going to talk about today. So with that, when you apply for student aid, there's a calculation that is made because the government says your family is expected to contribute some money. So that is what EFC is. And you've probably seen it online. You've seen things called EFC calculators and may not have known what the heck that was talking about. Well, basically, it is your expected family contribution. This is the amount of money that the government expects you and your family to contribute towards the cost of attendance. And it really is all based on a calculation, which you'll get after filling out the FAFSA. So what is financial need? Okay, and that's what it really comes down to, right? How much do I need in order to go to college? How do I do that? How do I look at the price tag of how much it costs and how much I'm supposed to contribute? And that's where we get financial need. So financial need is determined as the cost of attendance. So you have a particular school, you have the tuition, the fees, we have housing, we have all those things I just talked about in the prior slide. And then you subtract the expected family contribution, and that brings us to financial need. So that financial need determines how much financial aid you are eligible to receive. And so it really is a calculation that's very personalized for student to student, or I should say family to family. Okay, so cost of attendance comparison. So excuse me. So this gives you an idea. These numbers I want you to keep in mind are cost of attendance. Again, all of those factors I talked about. Their cost of attendance are examples based on students living off campus, not on campus. And so we have the community college, the Cal States, the UCs, and private schools. And what you see right there is we have a cost of attendance for California Community College, $21,100. And then we subtract $2,500 for, in this calculation, this student, their expected family contribution was $2,500. So they filled out the FAFSA, and the federal government said that based on how much money they make, they can afford to contribute $2,500 to the cost of attendance. And so that brings us to a financial need of $18,600. And you can follow that along the way for the Cal States, the UCs, and the private schools, okay? So it's that need, which is that gap we need to figure out how to fill. And that gap can be filled by accessing a few different things. So this is where that gap can be filled. So there's three major types really of financial aid and funding. The first one are grants and scholarships. Now that's great. That's like the key. That's money you don't have to repay, and it's typically based on that financial need. So remember that bottom line we just talked about. Work study. So this is where you get a job and you earn enough money. You can earn money by working on campus, and that money goes toward that extra amount, that financial need. You contribute to that because you are working. That's a really handy one to be able to do work study on campus. Also can be done off campus. Federal loans. This is also a big part of the process. So this is money that is borrowed and must be repaid with interest. And so when you are looking at how that financial need, that last category, is going to be met, you want to try to figure out the balance, right? Because ultimately you're paying back those student loans. So you want to take into consideration how many you're going to have when you come out of college, what your intended career is. Will you be able to afford those student loans, and how long might you carry debt? So these are all things you need to take into consideration, okay? Because again, the student loans must be repaid, okay? So the largest source of free money, those are the grants from the federal government, are for students with financial need, okay? So this is the federal Pell Grant. This particular one I'm going to talk about is for undergraduates only, meaning only students who have not received their bachelor or any professional degrees earned, they can apply for a federal Pell Grant by filling out the FAFSA. This can be $6,000 plus a year, depending on your enrollment status, okay? It is available for 6 years only, so you have 6 years in which to apply for this over and over again. And how do you apply for it? Simply by completing the FAFSA. This is something we've talked about a few times. This is a free application for federal student aid, and we need you all to be filling it out. And I know we talked about it before in our other workshops, but I'm going to be saying it a lot today. Fill out the FAFSA. All right. Another grant that you have access to simply by filling out that FAFSA is the Cal Grant. This is a guaranteed grant funding for recent California high school graduates who meet all of the eligibility requirements and apply by March 2nd. Okay, so you must meet all of the eligibility requirements and apply by March 2nd. So those are the two pieces that are very important. And all you have to do is fill out the FAFSA, okay? And make sure you do so by March 2nd. So you need to complete that or a California Dream application. We'll talk about that Dream application a little later in the presentation. You also need to submit a GPA verification or official high school GPA. The good news is the district does this for you. So all you have to do is fill out the FAFSA, and then they will take the information the district already submitted on your behalf, and they will join those two accounts, and then you've applied for the Cal Grant. Okay, and so this is up to $12,000 plus in funding and uses exclusively at, it's for use, pardon me, exclusively at California schools only. There's the key, only. So it doesn't work if you want to go to Arizona. You can't in Arizona or Colorado. You can't take a Cal Grant and apply it to a school in Arizona or Colorado. Okay, Cal Grant deadline is when? March 2nd. Okay, so I don't think you need to worry because you're going to get your Cal Grant done. Your FAFSA done this weekend just to take care of it. All I say your goal should be have it done before Thanksgiving. It'll make your life that much easier. All right. So students are going to find out that they, if they qualified for Cal Grant through the California Aid Report. And it is going to break it down. You're going to be notified directly. This does not come to West Ranch High School. We do not see this. This is something that will be sent to you directly, and it'll let you know what you qualified for, okay? And so review your aid report, make any corrections if necessary, and you can access that report also through the California Student Aid Commissions through webgrantsforstudents.org. All right, federal direct loans. So this is, once again, money we have to pay back. But there's two types of federal direct loans. They are low interest loans, there's the good news, for students and parents to help pay for the cost of higher education after high school. Now, all of these loans must be repaid with interest. Now, the question being, who's going to pay for the interest and when? So the first one, which is ideal, is a subsidized loan. And this is based on financial need. A student must be attending school at least half time, and the federal government pays the interest. In other words, when you draw from the loan, you get the loan, you draw from the loan, take the money, the federal government will start paying the interest for that throughout the time you are in school. So it's accruing interest, but the federal government will pay for that interest. Once you finish college and have to start repaying your loans, at that point, you pay for the interest from there on out. Okay, so it's a pretty good deal. You get like 4 years covered interest. So that's a good deal. Unsubsidized loans, still low interest loan. However, and it's available for all students, the downside is you are responsible as a student to pay the interest from the moment you draw from that money. And so it will start to accrue interest along the way all throughout your time in college. So it is important to take a look at student loans, their availability. They're low interest. They offer in-school deferment. In other words, you don't need to start paying them back until you're done with college. Loan consolidation will let you kind of have them all in one place, so you don't have a bunch of different loans in different locations. With when you're doing your bills, it's a big nightmare. Flexible repayment options, so they will work with you. And also very important, fixed interest rates. And so these are the different ways you can go that can help fund your college education. All right, and this went back, so apologies. We're going to just go right through. Not too sure what just happened to the PowerPoint. Okay, there we go. Another way to make money to help pay for school is through a federal work study. And so basically you are working and that money is going directly to pay for your college tuition and overall costs. So it's helping to pay for all of that. So you can work on or off campus. It's part-time employment. It is not full-time because the expectation is you are a student first. You can earn experience related to your studies or career plans. Another bonus is a lot of times if you're on campus, it's close. And so you can go to work and then go to class and it all works out very well. This is a very handy way to make a little bit of money that's going straight towards your college education. All right, scholarships, free money. Don't have to pay those back, okay? But you have to work a little bit to get them. And the other thing that's very important to realize is that you're oftentimes going to need to reapply for them year after year, okay? So scholarships you can get from colleges, you can get from companies, community-based organizations, and other organizations, and we'll talk about some great ones, Santa Clarita Valley Youth Scholarship, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. You have to make sure you apply for that one. Or sorry, Santa Clarita Valley Scholarship Foundation, pardon me. Important, the second column. Beware of scholarship search companies that charge a fee. You should not have to pay for somebody to search for college scholarships for you. There's tons of free search engines out there. You just have to do the legwork a little. We list a ton of them in Zello, and it'll only increase as we get closer to second semester. More and more will pop up. So please keep that in mind. There's free scholarship searches like FastWeb and scholarships.com. My only suggestion would be set up a separate email because they flood your emails and we don't want you to get them so full that you're not seeing other important emails. So that's a great way to manage it. Be prepared because some scholarships may require transcripts, essays. They may even have an interview, an audition. And many of them ask you to complete the FAFSA because they're based on financial needs. So you want to make sure that you have that in your back pocket in case they ask for it. Okay. Another key part is you need to apply. Many of them will have a separate application with different deadlines, and you will have to oftentimes reapply each year. And so there are some scholarships when you fill out your college application itself and you apply to the college that could be applied, especially private schools can let you know, and you don't even fill out a separate application. Those are awesome scholarships. But there are many, most of them, they're separate applications. So they're a little bit more work. And again, keep in mind, you have to reapply each year. So there might be scholarships that are appropriate for you this year as a high school senior, but there may not be the same number of scholarships available to you when you're a freshman in college. So when you're looking at that and thinking about how you're going to pay for things, you don't always want to count on certain scholarship money to fund your second, third, and fourth years, unless they are built in and they're renewable scholarships. So I just caution you on that. It's great, always good to have that money, but when you're factoring out and planning out how you're going to pay for things, do keep that in mind. Local scholarships. So this is an amazing program, and it's really pretty much just for Santa Clarita Valley residents. And so I really need you all to like listen in, your seniors, this is for you. So the Santa Clarita Valley Scholarship Foundation administers scholarships donated by local businesses and community organizations, and individuals, educators, and alumni. So all of these people in Santa Clarita Valley and businesses have gone through the Santa Clarita Valley Scholarship Foundation, and they've said, we want to offer scholarships to our high school students in Santa Clarita Valley only. So you're not competing nationally, you're just competing against all of your peers. And some of it even just within our own school, because some are very school specific. And so you need to apply. Parents, you need to make sure your kids are applying for this one. This is a big one, especially because look at bullet number 2. This is super important. This is not just for the high achieving students. Please do not think scholarships are only if you have over a 4.0. There's tons of scholarships out there that are not based on your GPA. All you need to apply for this one is a 2.0, and there's plenty others out there too. So if you're not that high achieving student, it's okay. There's still maybe money out there for you, okay? Because you still are a valuable person that they want to make sure that they are supporting and possibly helping achieve your dreams, okay? You must attend one of the local high schools and be graduating during the application year. And there's a required typed essay, approximately 350 words, addressing a writing prompt that appears on the application form. My little key tip of all of this, when you do see the application, follow all of the instructions to a T. Don't assume. They're sticklers. They like the instructions followed perfectly, okay? We're going to be putting announcements on WRTV. This will be information on Mr. Crawford's weekly email when this application is available. Your counselors are going to send emails, so check your emails. Parents, please encourage your students, check your school emails. We send a lot of communication out. We're hearing every once in a while, sometimes students aren't checking their school email and they're missing some important stuff. So we really need to make sure that they are checking their school email. So this is just a snapshot of some of the foundations and programs that offer scholarships through Santa Clarita Valley Scholarship Foundation. So you got to apply. You just have to. I'm just telling you, if you're going to graduate from West Ranch or any other high school in this area, please apply. Okay. California community colleges. Spent a lot of time with talking about four-year schools. But I really want to talk about the value of the California community college education. And there's a few things I wanted to highlight on here because it puts it in perspective. And one thing I will admit, it's a pet peeve of mine, which drives me crazy. When a student says to me, when I say, what are your plans after high school? And they say, I'm just going to blank community college. And I take issue with that because it's a college. And students who treat a community college as if they're entering a four-year school are incredibly successful because it is hard. And that means they're going to walk in, they're going to take it seriously, and they are going to transfer to whatever four-year school they want to do. They have all these different opportunities. So you have to take the word just out of it. These are excellent institutions, and all students choose to go to these schools for different reasons. And there's so many things that students can access and save an amazing amount of money along the way. So I want you to take the word just out because they are excellent schools and an excellent way to achieve your post-high school goals, okay? So put these in perspective. The California Community College institution is the largest system of higher education in the nation. It's composed of 72 districts and 115 colleges serving 2.1 million students per year. That's massive. California community colleges educate 70% of our state's nurses. I mean, nursing programs, especially in California, uber competitive or even hard to get into with community colleges. And yet here we have 70% of our nurses coming out of there, viable, and employable right out of school. California community colleges train 80% of firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and EMTs. 29% of UC and 51% of Cal State graduates started at California Community College. So one thing to keep in mind, when you get that diploma from wherever, Okay, so I'll say UCSB. I went to Santa Barbara. When I got my diploma, if you go to a community college first, it doesn't say on that diploma went to community college first. It says a graduate from that university. So please keep that in mind. This one floored me, actually. I didn't know this statistic, but 48% of UC's bachelor degrees in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics at the UCs are from community college transfers. That's massive. So these students are going in to highly competitive universities and doing great. So they're not skipping a beat. So we need to, again, take away the word just out of there and say, these are competitive students. So you can't say the word just when it comes to before you say a community college. California community colleges offer associate's degree and short-term job training certificates for more than 175 fields. Okay, so I think that's even 775 fields, sorry. And more than 100,000 individuals are trained each year in industry specific workforce skills. So what are we saying? You don't have to go to a four-year school. That may not be your thing, and that's absolutely fine. There's a ton of higher education opportunities and training opportunities and certificates available to you as well, right there at a California community college. So no one's saying you have to go to a four-year school. No one's saying you have to get a bachelor's degree, because you have all of this right at your fingertips, and for some amazing prices, which we're going to talk about on the next slide. Nearly 42% of all California veterans receiving the GI educational benefits attended a California community college for workforce training and also to earn an associate's degree or work towards transferring to a four-year university. So these were just some statistics I wanted to make sure we shared, because we really need to take that into consideration when we're thinking kind of big picture here. Especially because we have this amazing program, the Canyons Promise program. It's offered to first-time, full-time students to attend tuition-free. The benefits for this include enrollment and student fees are waived, priority registration, which is huge. Priority registration means your better chances of getting the classes before they fill up. That's massive. That's actually worth more than you even know. Academic support and more. Okay, so check out the Canyons Promise program. We even have a dual enrollment class to help with that. So check that out, take a little time, and I think it will be something that might open your eyes. And parents, check it out too. There's also an opportunity for community college enrollment fee waiver. California College Promise Grant. It must be for a California resident, only California Community College, and must have financial need. This is different than Canyons Promise. We still have Canyons Promise, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware that it waives the $46 per unit enrollment fee. And how do you get there? You apply with FAFSA or the California Dream application. So I keep talking about this California Dream application, and now I'm going to explain it. So the California Dream Act allows undocumented AB 540 students to apply for and receive state financial aid at California public and private colleges and private scholarships. So the key in that statement I want to make sure that I'm clear on is California Dream Act. So we're talking about California public and private colleges and private scholarships. Okay. So who's eligible? Who's this for? So the questions being, have you attended, if you have attended a California high school for a minimum of 3 years, graduated from a California high school or passed the California High School Proficiency, the CHESP, or get a general equivalency diploma, that's your GED, enroll in an accredited qualified California college or university, and fill out an affidavit to legalize immigration status as soon as eligible, okay? So once again, this allows undocumented students is what this is referring to. Students can apply online for a Cal Grant, middle class scholarship, CHAFE, and other states' aid using the California Student Aid Commission Secure California Dream Act application. If you need to do a screenshot, go ahead and do so at caldreamact.org. Okay. Fantastic. All right. And then next, we're going to talk about the CSS profile a little bit. We've talked about this in some of our prior webinars, but I do want to touch on it briefly because it is all part of applying for federal or for financial aid. So nearly 400 private schools utilize this, and some state schools actually do too, because they pull in from institutional funds. So how you do it is you go right in through College Board, and you actually need to, you can start submitting, the CSS profile starting October 1st, just like FAFSA. And you can see if each institution requires it by visiting their financial aid website to see. There's also a list on the CSS profile site, which I show you a snapshot on the next page. And all this is doing is a little bit more in-depth analysis of family finances. All you do is you sign into College Board using the SAT or ACT account that you've already set up. Cost is $25 for the application, and it gives you one school report. And then it's $16 for each additional school from there that you send out. Okay, there is a fee waiver available for low-income families for this, so that is a possibility. And you do need to apply each school year for this. And then when you're going to submit all required documents, this can be done through something called IDOC, Institutional Documentation Services, but it'll walk you through all of that once you're in there. Okay, it's just a little snapshot of some of the schools that require CSS profile. And so you'll see in there you have University of Southern California, so that's USC, you have Stanford, Scripps, Santa Clara University, Occidental College. So many of these are schools that our students are applying to. So you want to make sure and check it out and see what the requirements are. Okay. So how do I apply for federal aid and state aid? www.fasfa.gov. The .gov is the important one. That's going to take you straight to the official website. Okay, take a little screenshot if you need to. Okay, so when do I apply? You can start as of October 1st. Obviously, we're posting this after October 1st, but it's not too late. You want to make your ultimate deadline March 1st, but I would do it now. I would set a goal of doing it, I would say before Thanksgiving. Just get it done because you want to be able to send the financial aid report, the FAFSA report, to the colleges you're applying to, because you're going to list them in your list of colleges. So they get a report on it. So then they're ultimately going to send you a financial aid award letter because they do the workup from there. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your prior year tax info, calendar year versus academic year. Please kind of keep that in mind. You want to make sure you don't confuse the two. You will need to submit the FAFSA every single year you're in college because it's going to reference the prior year's financial information, okay? And you want to kind of just keep that in mind. It's like put in your phone every single year as a reminder you are going to be applying for doing FAFSA. So you're going to be an expert with this by the time you're a senior in college. And of course, there's an app. So you can use the app. When I did my own mock-up one, I went ahead and I just used it on the regular computer. It was a little easier. They give you a step-by-step of things you need. And we're going to talk about that on the next slide. But the cool thing is once you start it, they start sending you reminders to make sure you submit it so that you don't forget. So they do badger you a little bit, which I love, so that you don't forget, especially if you started as the student and then you need to get some more information from your parents. But it doesn't take too long if you gather all of the information initially, and you can sit down. I suggest sit down with your parents so that you understand this process each year and you can make sure you're doing it right. So gather that information and get ready. So there's this, and when you pull up the very first page of the FAFSA.gov, it's going to tell you what you're going to need. You're both going to need your social security numbers, financial aid records, including tax returns, records of any untaxed income that is received, student aid and parent email address, you'll need that, student's driver's license, and any eligible non-citizen and alien registration number. Okay. So you're also going to need something called an FSA ID. Think of this as like a super secure digital signature, okay? So students and parents and borrowers are required to use an FSA ID made up of a username and password to access certain U.S. Department of Education online systems. Your FSA ID is used to confirm your identity when accessing your financial aid information and electronically signing your federal student aid document. So you will absolutely need one. There's no avoiding this. Think of this as like an uber secure DocuSign because it has some pretty sensitive information. You want to make sure that it's secure. Okay. Overall, 9 times out of 10, you will be a dependent. And so on FAFSA, it's going to lead you through a series of questions to help you determine if you are a dependent student, okay? And most of you will be a dependent student, even if your parents are telling you that you're going to pay for college all on your own. The federal government makes the assumption that your parents are going to contribute. And so that is a factor. And so that is good part of that expected family contribution, unless you are independent. And if you walk through the FAFSA website, it will help you determine that. There are some little areas that will show which students are independent, and that's checking a different box and different information that you're going to submit. All right, how many steps does it take to complete the FAFSA? Not that many. Honestly, doesn't take as long as it sounds like it will. So there's going to be student demographics. There's going to be a school selection. So you're going to put in which schools you want to receive this financial information. Dependency status, that's if you're independent or dependent, we just talked about. Parent demographics, financial information, sign and submit, and confirmation page. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. A little tip is there's something called the IRS data retrieval tool. And so what this is it allows applicants who have already filed their federal income tax to pre-fill the answers to some questions on the FAFSA by transferring data from their federal income tax returns directly into FAFSA, okay? The nice thing is this can save you some time in completing the FAFSA, which I'm all for that. But the cooler part, my opinion, is it can also reduce the likelihood that your FAFSA is going to be selected for verification or auditing, so to speak. Verification, they're not auditing you, but verifying that all the information is correct, which are a few extra hoops. If you do not use the IRS data retrieval tool, provide tax information, and your colleges request a copy of your tax return or your parents' tax return, you will be required to obtain an official tax transcript from the IRS. Okay, so just a little tidbit to keep in mind. So how do you know when you're finished? You're going to get a summary and a confirmation page, and it's going to say congratulations, and it's going to tell you what happens next. Print the page. It says right there, print the page. Have it there so you're sure that you have done everything right and you have record of that. Okay. Verification. Okay, so the U.S. Department, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about a couple slides ago. The U.S. Department of Education selects 1 out of every 3 applications each year for verification. Student and parent must submit proof of information provided on the FAFSA, and some schools, they actually verify all applications. It's kind of up to the school. A little tip at the bottom, just what I was just talking about, use the IRS data retrieval tool and it'll reduce your chances of being selected for verification. It's not a bad thing that you're selected for verification, so if you are, don't freak out. It's just cumbersome. It's just more stuff you have to do. So what happens next? You've submitted your FAFSA, now what? Check your email. Another theme, check your email, because that's how they're going to communicate with you, okay? You're going to get something called the student aid report, and you need to review that to make sure there's no mistakes and make any corrections necessary. And it's also, you can add and remove schools. As you find out if you got into a school or did not get into a school, you can go in and remove a school and replace it with another one so that next school can receive your student aid report, okay? So the big question, how much will I get? Well, it all is going to come down to an award notification or award letter, and you get that from the college you apply to directly. So keep in mind, I've thrown a lot at you. You submit the FAFSA, you submit the CSS profile. That goes to the college. The college takes a look at that. Then they take the cost of attendance, expected family contribution. They look at all of the stuff that the federal government says you may qualify for. Maybe it was Pell Grant, maybe it was Cal Grant, maybe it's loans. And they're going to put all that in there. And then they're going to see, okay, wait a second, is there financial need? How big of a gap do we have there? Then you maybe qualify for anything else that we can provide from our campus. And then you're going to see cost of attendance. That's the true answer, because it may be different for each school. That's a very important piece of the puzzle. So financial aid's office at each school will you list on the FAFSA. If you don't put them on the FAFSA, they don't get the information. They're going to let you know the age you're eligible for to receive at that institution. Okay. And then if any of the schools ask for additional paperwork, give it to them. Check your email, make sure if they need anything else, you give it to them, because meet their deadlines. Because if you don't, you can miss out on aid, and they are serious about their deadlines. It's not like walking a little later, hey, sorry, Mrs. Reynoso, I missed the deadline. No, these are hard deadlines, and this could cost you a lot of money. So please hit those deadlines. I can't stress that to you enough. So I talked a lot, and I know I talked kind of fast, but I know your time is valuable. So where do you get extra help? We have an amazing resource right down the street at College of the Canyons. And you don't have to go to College of the Canyons or plan to go to College of the Canyons to access their expertise. They have an amazing financial aid office. They do this day in, day out, and they have seen every possible financial aid scenario out there. So give them a call, drop in Zoom, drop them an email. They even have, I noticed, a little online chat. So they're a great resource. You can come ask us questions, but for the super confusing ones that might be a little bit more unique, absolutely, and that's all confidential down there. So they're a great resource too. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this. I hope this presentation helped a little bit overall, just kind of alleviate a little bit of stress on what it is, but the long and short of it, apply for financial aid. What's the worst? You don't get as much as you want. I mean, come on. Apply for financial aid. Fill out the FAFSA. Bye. Take care, everybody.